Welcome to the family here on Purple Mafia. I am your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Purple Mafia is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps. I thank each and every one of you once and always for downloading and listening to this show. It is a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today. Apologize, my voice might not really be up to par, but I'm doing my best. That type of thing. Been kind of recovering for a while here from like bacterial infection, cold, whatever the heck it is. It's kind of a mix of weird stuff, but we're getting there. We're getting there. That's the good news. So, no strep throat, even though that's what I thought was going on. But, well, I guess that's not. So that's okay with me. Anyhow, obviously the Vikings are out and all of that, but we're going to keep up with the postseason like I always like to do. 2-segment episode. I might even do this a 1-segment shot, possibly. Maybe I could get away with doing that. We'll see. I kind of like to split segments up just because it feels more organized. I don't know, and you get to have the little bumper music to make the show sound more fun. And there is a decent amount of interaction on there for the most part. It's just good conversation. Also, well, yeah, there's definitely not going to be a Vikings segment, but there is a tiny bit of Vikings news, tiny little Vikings conversation. It's short, and we're going to open up with that because that's how we roll. I thought I posted something on the Facebook page, and where is it? See, I think it is there. Just hadn't updated it. Yeah, there it is. So it's kind of weird. Well, J.J. McCarthy, this was when the Vikings actually lost to the Rams. I hadn't heard about this until pretty recently. J.J. McCarthy tweeted, posted, whatever, a 2-word comment called Amor Fati. And apparently, now this is thanks to, it's a Fox News app, I guess. So, I just kind of got this by digging around in the, news. It said, the Latin phrase meaning love of fate refers to the mindset applied to how someone views life in both the good and the bad. So I guess, is that just because they lost? Is it because, people think it could mean several meanings for McCarthy? Like, does that mean they're looking to trade him, McCarthy? I certainly hope not. I'm hoping it's just like, that's how the playoffs are. Like, weird, crazy things happen. Hopefully that's all that means, and it doesn't mean that McCarthy could possibly be on the trading block, and the Vikings have made a decision to keep Sam Darnold. I'm sure hoping that's not the case. I think that'd be a mistake. I think it would be. I think it'd be a huge mistake. So just wanted to get to that really quick. That's the only Viking news there really is. Obviously, no coaches are on their way out at the moment. Some of the Detroit coaches that might have been favorites for, certain jobs out there, possibly the Jets, the Jets, the Raiders, the Bears, so on and so forth. Jobs that are still open. I don't know if they're going to be favorites anymore, Ben Johnson or the defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. So we'll have to wait and see what goes on with that. But I don't think they're top candidates after that performance versus the Washington Commanders. That's, of course, spoiler alert. You kind of have an idea what took place this past weekend. It was really something else, let me tell you. So, the Final Four is set, of course. So this is pretty much the main topic of the show here and right now. Division round review, Championship Sunday preview. Well, we'll go to the AFC first. Things opened up with the Chiefs and the Houston Texans, and it looked like the Houston Texans might make things interesting for a while, and then, of course, the Chiefs pull away, and then there's a cheap call, multiple roughing the passer calls against the Houston Texans. Big shocker. A play that was not a blow to the head, and it wasn't late either. So, it was within... it was less than a step, basically, before Mahomes had thrown the ball. There's nothing the defender could have done to avoid contact, and there was no blow to the head. It was shoulder to shoulder. At some angles, it might have looked like he might have nicked Mahomes' helmet, but at the end of the day, he did not. The defender for the Houston Texans. Unfortunately, the call was made anyway, which is insanely frustrating. I'm surprised the Texans even got sacks counted their way with all the stupid calls. 2 sacks for Will Anderson Jr., 1 for Tommy Togiai. So 3 sacks for the Texans. The Chiefs got 3,000. Now George Karlaftis alone had 3 sacks for the Chiefs. Tamari Connor, Felix Azuma, that's 5 right there. Oh my God. Looks like 8 sacks by the Chiefs. That's pathetic. Tershawn Wharton, Charles Amanilu, and Chris Jones. So 8 sacks for the Chiefs. No roughing the passer there, not at all. Just only when you touch Mahomes. That's pretty much how it works. And that's why you saw memes all over the NFL, all over like Facebook and such social media, where it's basically like sometimes you show 2 different star players like holding their opposite jersey. Like say, imagine it's like the game just ended. Imagine it's like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen both holding their opposite jersey, just kind of like just respect this and that. It was kind of like the ref, and it'd be like the ref and Mahomes holding the 2 different shirts, basically. So that would have been, that was one of them. Just kind of like, it was like ridiculous. Like we're all on the same side, that kind of thing. So it's just kind of silly and annoying. Not silly, the memes aren't silly and annoying. It's just the fact that feels like the Chiefs kind of have it, I don't know. It's almost like they have it in the bag. They're going to get every call, and it's extremely frustrating, and a lot of people are quite sick of it. The good news is the masses out there are sick and tired of the Kansas City Chiefs, outside of like people in the Kansas City area who are like diehard Chiefs fans. They talk a lot of stuff. They're really arrogant. They remind me of Golden State Warriors fans because it's basically the same exact vibe. Major reasons to not like the Chiefs at all. So yeah, it's hard to be a fan of the team. It's hard to like the fan base. And frankly, I remember people complaining about Kansas City Royals fans being complete jackasses in the past too. So it's the same people. I mean, it's Kansas City, it's the same people. So I can understand the frustration trying to switch to NFL Network now because obviously the production's over on CBS. So anyhow, yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. But yes, Kansas City Chiefs advance, unfortunately, and it just felt like it just felt biased for like the whole game. Houston had a chance, they had a chance, and then everything just kind of snowballed as the game progressed. Mahomes ultimately, of course, Travis frickin' Kelce. There was a play where he caught the ball and was just like nobody brought him down. It was just extremely frustrating. I mean, it's just nothing drives me more crazy than when it looks like you might have Mahomes sacked, or you might have to force Mahomes to throw the ball away or something, and then there's Travis Kelce, and he happens to catch it, and it's like, I don't know, he doesn't, half the time he doesn't even look good, and it's like magically nobody's near him, or for whatever reason, or they just can't reach him in time, like whatever it is. He doesn't even look like he's moving fast when he catches the ball, yet it's just the weirdest, most obnoxious thing. I don't know what it is. Obviously, he's a good tight end, blah, 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 But the sideshow, like now we got a new recruit for the sideshow. And of all people, it's just, with all the attention this person got last year, for better or worse, Caitlin Clark, are you kidding me? Caitlin Clark is now in the same booth with Taylor Swift, cheering on the Chiefs. Caitlin Clark, seriously, Caitlin, do you have to do this to us? Please, Caitlin. And it's kind of like any respect I may have had for Caitlin Clark is pretty much gone after that. Like, I mean, really? Do you have to be a sideshow now for the Kansas City Chiefs? Like, and again, every couple of conversations, like say Dan Barrero locally, Caitlin Clark this, Caitlin Clark that, Caitlin Clark, Caitlin Clark, Caitlin Clark, Caitlin Clark, and it just went on and on and on. And I got tired of it. Oftentimes I'd forward through the segment because I can't take it anymore. I'm not that interested. Sorry, I'm like choking to death here, and that's kind of what that does to me. And when, like, say, like the media tries to kind of make everybody interested in something, I tend to go the opposite direction because it's like, okay, it feels like it's too much. It feels like it's being forced, and it is. And then Taylor Swift is getting forced on us all the time about how great she's like universally like the best singer ever or something. Like she's the most talented, maybe not the best singer, obviously not. The most talented person ever, blah, blah, blah. And anybody saying like she's not that good is the most inaccurate statement ever. I got hammered by some local media person on Facebook. This is like, and they, out of nowhere, like they trolled my little post on Facebook, like out of nowhere. And this is like a known radio person who has never met me, you know. I was just stunned. Calling it the most inaccurate statement ever posted on the internet. When I simply said she's not that good. Like, everybody calm down and like stop talking about her every 10 seconds because she was coming to the Twin Cities or whatever. It was just obnoxious. And then it's like right after that, all the sideshow with Kelsey started, and it just never ends. Never ends. And then you had Caitlin Clark to it. Speechless. Speechless. Of course, I wasn't very speechless just a few minutes ago, but just too much. Too much. And see, that's the whole point. I should be talking about the Chiefs and the Texans, not about Caitlin Clark and Taylor Swift. You know what I mean? It's annoying. It takes away. It takes away from the game. It takes away from the whole purpose. Like, go away. Seriously. I'm tired of it. Anyhow, the Chiefs won, and they're in the AFC title game, and yeah, he's been there 7 times, you know. Still not the GOAT in my book. Sorry. Thankfully, I saw a lot of responses when a lot of people were saying, you know, or there was this meme, or not meme, but a tweet out about, is Mahomes the greatest quarterback of all time? And there was a ton of feedback saying no, 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 no. There was some Montanas and there was a ton of Brady's. So, yes, thankfully, people are still putting Brady and Montana ahead. And good for them. Now, please, Buffalo, or Washington, or Philadelphia, prevent this guy from getting his 4th Super Bowl. Please do. Get the job done. Get it done. It's not even anything against Mahomes as much as I'm just done with this stupid Chiefs team. And I'm tired of seeing showboating Kelsey, you know, with his miracle plays, you know, like when it's like 3rd and 18 or whatever. It's so irritating to watch. And the endless showboating. Every time the Chiefs do anything right, it's just endless. Ugh, it's too much. Well, the Chiefs won. Yay. AFC title game. I've made my point and I've drug it out way too long. Well, I guess we'll go chronologically because we're just going to have to. Saturday night. This was unbelievable. This is where you saw the gladiator at the center of the stadium yelling, "Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?" Well, are you not entertained? The Washington Commanders went into Detroit and ripped the hearts right out of their chest. Like I've never seen. I mean, this is a Washington team just a week ago, where a lot of people were saying Tampa's probably going to knock out the Commanders. You know, nice little season, but Tampa will probably beat them in a fairly close game. And then so on and so forth will happen after that. And now the Washington Commanders are in the NFC Championship game. As the Commanders escape past Tampa Bay, pretty well played game. They were the better team most of the way. And in Detroit, you'd have to say comfortably, outside of Jahmyr Gibbs scoring pretty early in the game, to put Detroit up 7-0, pretty much from there on. It was Washington's game to lose. An absolutely incredible performance, a rookie quarterback that showed up to play pretty much from the get-go, and that'd be Jayden Daniels, of course. Number 2 pick in the draft. I was listening back to my draft preview and draft review conversation. I didn't talk about Jayden Daniels too much in the review, but in the preview, I forgot how much he wanted to come to the Vikings. Jayden Daniels wanted to come to the Vikings. Think about that. Do you remember back in the spring? Jayden Daniels wanted to come to Minnesota. Wouldn't he look good in purple right now, huh? But the Commanders, yeah, this is a franchise, very proud, very successful franchise that had fallen off the face of the earth the last 20 years or so. I mean, completely fallen off the face of the earth. Nobody talked about the Washington Redskins anymore, /football team /Commanders. Nobody talked about them anymore. They were looked on as kind of one of the doormats of the NFL, kind of like the Washington Bullets, Washington Wizards, teams like that. It's just kind of a sad but true type of thing. And then all of a sudden, here they are. They're back to legitimacy, just like that. You kind of figured 12-5. That's a pretty nice record. And how they were kind of hanging in there. They were 7-2. They were competing for the division title with Philadelphia. The Eagles got their heads out of somewhere, and now they make it to the NFC Championship game and will be hosting it. Impressive stuff. I mean, he seemed so unflappable out there to Jayden Daniels. Jared Goff was pretty much a mess. He'd get some yardage as Detroit would have their opportunities that would either wind up with settling for a field goal or another turnover or whatever it was. Because not only was Jayden Daniels so clutch and so outstanding, But the Washington defense, like, what is Mr. Dan Quinn, the coach of the Washington Commanders, now his first year there? What's he known for? Defense. He was a really good defensive coach. Look at Dallas's defense when Dan Quinn was here. They were lethal. Remember how good they were? And of course, when Seattle won the Super Bowl, lethal. But you couldn't stand the Seahawks back then. Lethal defense. Atlanta's defense is pretty good, and they were a really good team. They just had a quarterback, unfortunately, that couldn't get it done no matter how talented he was. And Matt Ryan. So that was Atlanta, of course, when they gave up the 28-point lead in the Super Bowl. Matt Ryan, many years later with the Colts, would give up the biggest lead in the history of the NFL in a meaningless game, it turned out. Two teams that were headed nowhere. One was headed absolutely nowhere. The other was was a team with a nice gaudy record who couldn't beat the Giants 2 weeks later. So that was stupid. Unfortunately, yeah. I remember how depressing that was. Just think about how Detroit fans must feel at this moment. And the conversation with Barrero and Royce and other people are wondering, what the heck, man? I mean, how did the Vikings manage only 9 lousy points against this Detroit defense, this injured, debilitated Detroit defense? How? How did you manage only 9 frickin' points? Washington carved them up like a Christmas ham. Absolutely carved them up. Carved them up. I mean, it was so well executed. The timing, the decision making, the mixing things up. Didn't have to get too cute or anything. Just smart. And showing confidence in your rookie quarterback to throw the ball, to simply throw the ball as well. And throw the ball he did. Moved around as well, showing the mobility, got 51 yards on the ground. Did not score a touchdown, but also the Washington defense, the Commanders' defense was commanding enough in terms of Jared Goff. Wound up with 3 interceptions. Jared Goff was kind of gambling a bit out there, and the interceptions happened. He wound up with 3 of them. Detroit still had a chance for a little while there. It felt like it, especially the way they drove down the field commandingly, pun not intended, but then ended up having to settle for a field goal as the defense was bend but don't break, again, as Tom Brady of all people said. So, yep. Yeah. Wish I could. Yeah, it's a shame at the end of the day what happened to Detroit, but also at the same time, wonderful to see Washington do what they're doing so early. Yep, definitely, very impressive at the end of the day with Washington. Like I said, Daniels, 300 yards on 31 attempts? It's pretty good. Goff, 313, of course, playing from behind for quite a while. Jahmyr Gibbs still wound up with 107 yards, or 105 yards, 7.5 average. Pretty impressive. Got in the end zone twice. David Montgomery did return, but nothing like you were probably hoping for. He actually even completed a 20-yard pass, but again, some wild, crazy stuff along the way that did not help the Detroit Lions. Jamison Williams throwing an interception. I mean, obviously he's the player that the Vikings traded for. 61-yard play. Reverse to the receiver, Jamison Williams. That was a Kwesi Ndofa. That was a Kwesi trade to Detroit back in his rookie draft. So Jamison Williams, again, that reverse play, 61 yards for a touchdown. And that's when you figured that, okay, yeah, Detroit's back in it now. Washington was ahead, maybe not anymore. What's incredibly amazing is how Washington seemed pretty much unfazed. Jayden Daniels and basically the whole team seemed pretty unfazed by that fairly creative play, but then the stupid one with Jamison Williams throwing an interception, not good, not creative at all. Zadarius Smith, former Viking, had a pass deflection, and that's it. Yep. Wow, they got to him 0 times, 0 sacks. 0 sacks. I forget if there was a roughing the passer. I don't remember. I mean, it's all kind of stuck on the other guy. Doris Armstrong had a couple of sacks against, at least one of them was pretty fatal, which pretty much put Detroit on ice late in the game. Jared Goff and everything. People are saying, has Jared Goff reached the ceiling? Is this kind of it? Was this their window? So on and so forth. Detroit fans and Viking fans have been talking trash a bit. I don't see the need to do that. Whatever. There was a lot of... Well, they're saying that our window's already closed, and it's like McCarthy hasn't played a game yet, so I wouldn't say that. Detroit's window could be closing pretty quick. we'll have to wait and see. There are some young talented players, but Goff is 30, so of course 30 at quarterback is not that old. These days at the quarterback position, 30 could be the new 25. But sorry about the audio. Might be getting a little funky again in my voice, and I'm running into coughing a lot, so I apologize. Trying to get through this without turning it into like a cough fest, even though it kind of would be if otherwise. But anyhow, this was easily the biggest surprise of the weekend, no doubt. A lot of us felt Washington would present a threat to Detroit, but would they actually get the job done? Probably not, but then they end up doing so. Oh, God. Sorry. All the showboating on Kansas City. Oh, it's disgusting. It's absolutely gross. But, again, it'd be so cool to see, like I say, if Washington... imagine like a Washington-Kansas City Super Bowl and Washington gets the job done. Wouldn't that be cool? You know, as long as the Chiefs don't win, I'm happy for one. Like, I would be happy to see any of the other three teams win the championship right now. Obviously, Buffalo... Washington or Philadelphia winning it all. Yes, Philadelphia. Yes. Yes. I was cheering for Philadelphia a couple of years ago, but I don't know if it's going to be Philadelphia. Hint, 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 hint. Speaking of the Philadelphia Eagles, here we go. Again, get used to Lincoln Financial Field because that's where they're going to be playing next week. That's where Washington's going, but what could be a huge advantage for the Washington Commanders is that, they know the Philadelphia Eagles very well. Division rivals for many, 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 many years. Two ancient franchises that have been going at it forever, like the Bears and the Packers, so on and so forth. Ancient franchises. Remember the Packers went into Chicago and beat them pretty easily back in 2010 en route to their fourth Super Bowl title. Remember that? Stafford actually was pretty good in this game except for the fumble. Unfortunately, as at that point was that the Rams were basically down by 6 points. They were kind of trying to drive. It was a snowy, kind of a sleet game. It was sleet that turned into like more of like a heavy snow as the game progressed. Started off as like pouring down as sleet. It was pouring sleet at the beginning. And Stafford basically had he was hanging onto the ball, protecting it, and then all of a sudden his hand just kind of opened up with the maybe like if he got hit in the funny bone or something like that. It was kind of along it was kind of like that. It was weird. And Stafford just kind of had this look like, you've got to be bleeping me. And that was unfortunate for him, unfortunately. Unfortunate for unfortunate. Obviously, the quarterback ratings aren't going to be real sexy because, guys were dropping the ball. Some of the throws were just flat inaccurate because the ball was probably slippery, but guys were also dropping the ball a lot because the ball was slippery. It sound consistent? Also, Jalen Hurts might have a knee problem as well. He was pretty sandwiched pretty bad, and the way he went down on the knee. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's like the type of knee injury where it's like see you next winter, see you next November or something. I'll be happy to get you halfway through next season. It wasn't anything like that. I don't think, like a T.J. Hawkinson type of deal. But I don't know. At minimum, bare minimum, it could be a very immobilizing injury going into the NFC Championship game for Jalen Hurts, which again could point in another direction. Jalen Hurts just a couple years ago, I swear, 22, looked like a league MVP type of guy, throwing for touchdowns, the most dangerous goal line threat there is since Culpepper. In fact, probably better, actually a better version. He's ran in the ball so many times already in the small amount of time and the small sample size he's been in the NFL. It's incredible. In fact, Jalen Hurts also ran one in today. And then you have maybe the best player in the league this year, Saquon Barkley, who had another one. Remember, earlier in the season, not that long ago, when these two teams, the Rams and the Eagles, played this was in Los Angeles, I do believe, or was it in Philly? But I think it was in L.A. I think it was because it was indoors, so Philly does play outside. Remember, I was doing I was doing a Purple Mafia episode, most likely after a win, right? Because the win streak went on forever until the final game of the regular season. And, it was the Rams and the Eagles on Sunday Night Football, Channel 11. And all of a sudden, during that third segment, I was like, and there goes Saquon Barkley. And he just took off. He got through a couple of tackles at the very beginning there through the line, and that was it. There was just nothing else the Rams could do. And that's pretty much what happened here as well. Saquon Barkley exploding. That was for his second touchdown, 78 yards to pay it, as they might say, which brought his average of about 8 yards a carry on 26 carries. So 205 yards. A Terrell Davis-like performance by Saquon Barkley. Jalen Hurts, mediocre passing numbers, 15 of 20. I mean, that's okay. The accuracy is fine, 75%, but no touchdowns at all. No interceptions, did not fumble the ball either. Whereas Stafford has the grape jelly stain with the fumble. Obviously, the mobility is not there. Kyren Williams also fumbled the ball as well. Again, stuff like that, that's the difference. I mean, it's a fairly close football game, but that's the difference. The Eagles held onto the ball. They didn't throw it away, and they did not fumble, whereas the Rams did. That's the difference. Sometimes that's just flat out the difference. And plus, again, passes were dropped all over the place. Was it their fault? Probably not on most of them. Still, ball was dropped. And, of course, you can talk about in the Baltimore-Buffalo game, where it was snowy as blank as well, whereas the flakes were flying, just again as this game progressed later into the afternoon with the in Philadelphia. It went from sleet to flakes, like the flakes, because we were expecting about 6 inches there in Philadelphia. Pretty nice, solid, strong snowstorm, I guess you could call it. It's a storm because it was coming down pretty hard and pretty windy. Not easy conditions for playing the sport, but there are plenty of snow games in NFL lore over the years. Again, final play of the game was, again, inaccurate as Stafford tried to hit Cooper Kupp on the sideline again to, get a solid 20-yard play or so and go out of bounds. Keep the clock stopped with about 20 seconds left, but unfortunately it was just too far out and the game was over. Because it was already fourth down, no timeouts left for the Rams, and it was 20-some seconds left. There's nothing you could do. All Hurts had to do was kneel down. Now, unfortunately, we'll see what happens. Jalen Hurts did not miss a play, but again, the way he was sandwiched on the sack, where you could clearly shaken up a bit, completely sandwiched. Like the knee, see, instead of buckling backwards, it was just kind of down too much. Like say you're sitting on the ground and your knees just kind of, squished. It was kind of like that, where it was kind of, that can cause a problem too, where maybe, again, like I'm thinking the upper part of the knee could have been pulled, that type of thing. Could even lead to something like a bursitis. That's what it kind of looked like, yeah. Just kind of discomfort, which could make you immobile. See, because the knee didn't buckle, it got squished. At least from what I'm looking at. Yeah, see, like they're showing it right now. You're just kind of getting squished. Like your lower, your calf, your lower part of your leg, your shin, whatever, is on the ground, and you're kind of getting smushed down on top of it, and your leg is just kind of getting smushed. Yeah, it's just, ugh. We've all kind of felt that type of discomfort before, one way or another. You're falling on ice or you're whatever, playing sports, and someone's landing on you as it's happening. I mean, that's, funny stuff can happen. Where it's not funny, it's the other kind of funny, like, oh boy, that wasn't good. So, at the end of the day, the Eagles were the better football team, hanging on to the ball, and of course, as good as Kyren Williams and Stafford were, which they were pretty good, for those weather conditions, pretty impressive. Barkley was better. Barkley was mainly better, more so than Hurts. Hurts protected the ball. It wasn't special. A lot of people think he's overrated now, and I don't know what to say. It's weird. But the Eagles, of course, they're a real threat to get to the Super Bowl. If they got there, I don't know. I think they'd have a hard time. I think Buffalo or Kansas City could probably beat Philadelphia. But we'll get back to that in a minute. Last game, Buffalo and Baltimore, the one that I thought could be the Super Bowl in a lot of ways. This game wasn't that good. I don't know. I don't think this one lived up to the hype nearly as much. Josh Allen only wound up with 127 yards. Yeah. He only ran for 20 also. He had a couple of key first downs, and he did get in the end zone twice. So he was able to get the short gains that helped. I mean, his long of the day was 7. That'd be Josh Allen on 10 rushes. You believe that? But he got in the end zone twice. This game wasn't that good though. I'm going to be honest with you. I was a little disappointed. In this one, which kind of, I don't know. Weather conditions were not good. Like I was saying, the flakes were flying because it's kind of that East Coast area. Buffalo, New York isn't that close to Philadelphia, but it's not that far either. And Buffalo can get absolutely pounded with snow, and unfortunately, this game next week will not be in Buffalo. So no home field for them. Philadelphia will have home field. So it's going to be extremely interesting to see how all this turns out at the end of the day. Lamar Jackson, obviously kind of pointing the finger at himself a bit, losing a fumble and also throwing an interception. Still really nice quarterback rating despite that. 18 of 25, 254, 2 touchdowns and an INT. Derrick Henry got in the end zone once, 84 yards. On the ground, respectable numbers on 16 rushes. James Cook, actually the younger brother of Dalvin Cook, wears the same number and everything. One is a very active young player who kind of came into his own this year. The other is it's like ancient history, and he's not that old. Jeez. But he's ancient history to us. Ty Johnson also ran for 31 yards for the Buffalo Bills. So again, they look good and everything, but they don't look that great to me. So yes, that was Von Miller. Wow, that older guy that I saw, that was Von Miller. And it's like, I know. It's like, where have you been, Joey? Well, it's crazy. Yep, he goes all the way back to the Denver Broncos winning the Super Bowl in 2015. He was one of their best players in that game. Very good player. Very good player. Kyle Van Noy of Baltimore had a half sack. Shared with Madabuki. And that's it. That's the only sack in the whole game for either team. Nope. For Baltimore, pardon me. Buffalo did have 2. That's what I thought. Damar Hamlin. Remember him. Remember Damar Hamlin. He had a sack on a corner blitz. Good for him. Greg Rousseau, also a sack for Buffalo. Isn't that great? See what I did there? See what I did? Wasn't that cute? Rashad Bateman got in the end zone when it looked like Baltimore had a shot at winning this thing. But at the end of the day, they just didn't. Unfortunately, Baltimore just flat out didn't. As, I don't know, they just weren't the team of destiny today, unfortunately. And they had a real shot. But the drop pass, Mark Andrews in the end zone for the 2-point conversion, unfortunately, that was, not quite a dagger, but it kind of ended up being one later. It's an overall depressing day. Andrews, I believe, lost a fumble, didn't he? Yeah, he did. He lost a fumble. He didn't catch the ball for the 2-point conversion. Just very heartbreaking. Buffalo ends up winning the football game. Again, it's the turnovers. Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews fumbling, and of course the interception as well. So that just ended up being the dagger, like the nail in the coffin for the Baltimore Ravens in the playoffs. I'm telling you, playoffs, Super Bowl, all that. I'm telling you, turnovers really are the name of the game. Buffalo held on to the ball, and Baltimore didn't. And I don't know. I mean, Baltimore's had snow games as well, so it's not that foreign to them. The Vikings played in a very snowy game many years ago. I mean, it's not that long ago when you consider Leslie Frazier was the Vikings coach. We're not talking like way back in the day, Bud Grant or even Bernsey. But, yeah, I mean, it is a while ago now. 2013, a back-and-forth crazy game. The Vikings ended up losing, surprise, surprise. And Frazier would get fired like a few weeks later. Well, deservedly so. He's not a head coach. He's a great defensive coordinator, but he's not a head coach. So we'll see how all that turns out. Also being reminded that Buffalo Bills did defeat the Chiefs earlier this year, and I do remember that. Hopefully Buffalo can get the job done. And that would be great. Hopefully Buffalo can get the job done. That was the only actual real loss the Chiefs had this year. But the Buffalo does have a great record against the Chiefs in the regular season, and hasn't done a damn thing against them in the postseason, especially in this Mahomes era, of course. So, disappointing, to say the least. A phenomenal record in the regular season. So we'll have to kind of wait and see how all that turns out at the end of the day. But yeah, Buffalo winning and advancing. You have conference finals of Buffalo and Kansas City, in Kansas City, of course, in the NFC Championship game of with the Eagles hosting the Washington Commanders. These are teams that are all very, very familiar with each other one way or another. Old history between the Eagles and the Washington Commanders and such. think I want to look up something here. Why not? Oh, sheesh. Yeah, I should have probably pulled this up earlier. But you can kind of do it on the fly sometimes. Remember that football database that I tend to use? Well, once you get to the conference finals, it's like, why the heck not? Yeah, so obviously recently, the most recent playoff game, the Chiefs beat the Bills 27-24. It was one of those disappointing, frustrating, bleeping games. I remember that last year in the second round, and that son of a black, and that was in Buffalo too. You know, guys like Kelsey and such. You think you finally have him stopped, and then of course there's Kelsey with some miracle catch or whatever, and no, people aren't close enough to him. It was just, why? Why is he always open at the worst timing ever? It's like so stupid. I remember how Buffalo or Kansas City crushed the Chiefs in the NFC Championship game in 21. That was obviously the 2020 season. That was, January 21. Also, again, after the 21 season, a very close back and forth game, very entertaining football game in the divisional round. The Chiefs beat the frickin' Buffalo Bills 42-36. I get sick thinking about that. Before that, these teams didn't play in a whole lot of playoff games. I'm going to dig way back. So before that, 94. That's right, the Buffalo Bills. See, back then it was the opposite. The Buffalo Bills were the team going to the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, not winning it. They killed Joe Montana's Chiefs, the 93 Chiefs. Really good team. They killed them 30-13. A few years earlier, Buffalo won that one as well in 92. That was to help eventually the Bills to get to the Super Bowl that year to play in the Metrodome. That would be in the Metrodome later on. This was, again, I believe, a divisional round. I believe so. Where's the legend where it shows the different symbols? That was a divisional round game. So there's no wild card indication. Maybe they never played in the wild card. Oh yeah, AFL Championship. Wow, that's way back. Yeah, because that was like AFC though by then, because the Super Bowl did exist. Oh, I'm just realizing something. Nope, that was the year before. Chiefs won that one. Yeah, we'll go back to that. Yeah. So before 92, the last time these two teams kicked off in the postseason, New Year's Day, 1967, Buffalo got crushed by the Chiefs 31-7. And that was it. No more playoff games. Otherwise, a fairly rich history between these two teams, and it's mostly recently. But even in the Joe Montana on the Chiefs, and the year before that as well. I'm trying to remember who the quarterback was of the Chiefs. Oh, that was like 91. Was it Steve DeBerg? Andre Reed. Yep, all those classic names. Vlasic. Did he sell pickles? Well, yeah, Steve DeBerg. Otherwise, there was Vlasic. Mark Vlasic, yeah. Steve DeBerg, that's what I thought. But I don't know what happened. Well, he threw for 22 yards, and then Vlasic, I don't know who started. Looks like Vlasic, but yeah, he was terrible. And then DeBerg took over, maybe. And then Kelly threw 3 interceptions in the game. Vlasic threw 4 interceptions in the game. Yuck. What's up with these guys? Thurman Thomas, 100 yards on the ground. Yeah, that Bills team should have won the Super Bowl. No, this is not the championship. This is not the Bills team that should have won the Super Bowl. This is the one that lost to the Washington Redskins, and maybe the Washington will get their first Super Bowl since way back then. We'll see, which maybe means the Twins are going to win another World Series finally. Because when Washington wins, Twins win. 87. Well, the Twins won the World Series in 87. And then the Washington Redskins won a few months later. Twins won the World Series in 91. Washington Redskins won again. But, the Twins didn't even make the playoffs this year. So hopefully Washington just wins anyway because, I don't know. I'm on the Washington bandwagon right now, if you can't tell. But I'll take anybody over the Chiefs. I like the Bills. I even like the Eagles a little bit now because, I got a soft spot for them when they played the Chiefs a few years ago. I was like, I'm an Eagles fan the next 2 weeks, and I built a soft spot ever since, if you can believe that. But Saquon Barkley, of course. Now, for that rich history, let's go to that one. And as for the result, I'm going to step out in faith and believe that the Buffalo Bills will beat the Chiefs next week somehow, some way. Boy, it's going to be interesting, though. Because, if sooner or later, something has to change. Like how the Red Sox finally got past the Yankees. Remember when the Washington Capitals finally got past the Pittsburgh Penguins? Remember? If you watch hockey anyway. I mean, it's, it's got to count for something, right? It's got to count for something. Well, Washington Commanders. Can't you spell, Joey? Gosh. Versus Philadelphia Eagles. History. Sorry about this. Usually I'm a little more prepared than this. I apologize. But it's just a couple of clicks. So, I mean, yeah, that's what I really need. But before I officially jump into the Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles, again, back to like how I was talking about, the Washington Capitals finally got past the Pittsburgh Penguins, and all of that. So certain teams, they finally break through. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen with the Buffalo Bills this year. It's got to happen. The Chiefs are not going to win 3 straight Super Bowls. It doesn't happen. It's not going to happen. There's not going to be a three-peat in the NFL. And frankly, I hope it doesn't happen. Unless it's the Minnesota Vikings, there's one team I would say go and get 3 in a row. Even the 49ers and the Patriots. No. You can't win 3 in a row. You can't. It's just against the rules, dang it. It just doesn't happen in the NFL. So, nope, it's not going to happen. The Buffalo Bills win 27-24. It'll be kind of like a flipperoo of that heartbreaking loss a year ago or so. Yes, it was a second-round game in Buffalo. So this time the road team wins again in a close battle in Kansas City, 27-24. The Chiefs finally get beat and on their home field. Hopefully they're done being a dynasty at that point. We'll see. I mean, I don't think they're going to be a dynasty much longer. Clearly, like, things are, even though they've been winning games in the regular season, something's got to give. It's not going to last forever. They'll be competitive. They'll be a pain in the butt forever. But other than that, we'll see. Otherwise, the Washington and Philadelphia all-time series is unbelievably rich. It goes back forever. 90, 85, and 5. The Commanders / Redskins lead the all-time series. They've had 5 ties over the years. The amount of playoff games I can't even imagine. And the record goes all the way back to 1934. NFC wildcard game. That's it. There's no division round. There's no conference final. So all those years, that's unbelievable. The Eagles have actually scored way more points than the Commanders. In the series, 3,847. Commanders, 36-18. Interesting. But yeah, way back to 1934. I mean, I don't think there's a soul still alive on these clubs back in the 30s. And if there is, amazing. They'd be 110 years old probably, wouldn't they? So, I mean, now we get into the 40s. And man, oh man. Oh, the Eagles dominated them in the 40s. The later half of the 40s into the 1950s. Get your James Dean music. No, not music. I'm just kidding. Rebel Without a Cause, the movie, 1955. Yeah. They didn't play in the playoffs all those years? Oh my God. They probably did, but I don't know. It's just not showing it. It's not counting it as that. Maybe because, I don't know, it was different back then. I don't get it. Finally, 91. January 5th, 91. So, of course, it was the 1990 season. Washington Redskins. Yes, you can call them the Redskins. It shows Redskins right there. 20 to 6. This is just a wild card game, though. They beat the Eagles because this Washington team did not win the Super Bowl that year. No, the New York Giants did. I think they got beat by the Giants later on. Yep, New York Giants beat the whatchamacallits. Jim McMahon was already on the Eagles. He was done with the Bears already. He attempted 3 passes to no avail. Ripien was the starting quarterback. So what happened to Doug Williams? God, Ripien is, yeah. And yeah, his son is on the Vikings. Mark Ripien is his son, I do believe. No, Brett Ripien. Now I'm getting them mixed up. Brett Ripien. Unless it's his grandson, but no, I don't think he's that old. Randall Cunningham. But Washington won comfortably. Ripien did more, even though his numbers were pretty meh. But of course, a lot of quarterbacks had meh numbers back in those days. Cunningham, on only 7 attempts, ran for 80 yards. Impressive. Remember, he was extremely mobile, and back then he was an NFL MVP type of a guy. Entertaining, to say the least. Ernest Miner, yeah, I remember that name. Art Monk, legend. Ricky Sanders, yep. Keith Jackson, wow. These are some good names. Keith Byers. Cool names back in the day, huh? Back in the day, 1990, Chloe the kitty cat was less than a year old. She was alive and growing up at that stage. Isn't that, memories? Still going up into the end of the 90s, nothing. I can't believe, I thought there was going to be like 10 playoff games between these two teams. I can't believe this. Oh my God. You're telling me these teams never kicked off in the postseason other than 1990? I can't believe it. This has got to be a glitch. That is ridiculous. This is only the second playoff game in the history of these two football teams that have been playing each other since 1934. Oh my God, that is weird. That's weird. You had Buffalo and the Chiefs. They had a AFL championship game back in '67, where the Chiefs, of course, won that one. I believe they lost to the Packers in the Super Bowl. I think that was Super Bowl II. Because I think it was New Year's Day '67. So that was Super Bowl I. The Green Bay Packers beat the Chiefs, and I think they beat Cleveland. So Cleveland actually went to a Super Bowl way back at the beginning. And I think right before that, Cleveland won the last NFL championship when it actually meant you're the champion, not like the National League champion, like NLCS in baseball. Yeah, which became NFC, NFC and whatever. Or AFC in that case, AFC, AFL. Yeah, but anyhow, Eagles. I'm sure they're the favorites going into this one. I don't know if maybe I'll pull up the DraftKings app here in a second. There must be some kind of odds already. But I am going to pick the Washington Commanders to win this thing. Commanders lead the playoff series despite about 90 years of history between these two teams. 90 years of history between these two teams. Yeah, it is 90 years, 34-24. It's 90 years. This is only the second playoff game in the history of these two franchises. I don't believe that. Same division, too. That doesn't make any damn sense. That is an anomaly like you've never seen. And yeah, confirmed. Just wanted to check again with the Google and everything. It was just that 1990 game. This wasn't like a NFL database or a football database. Good job, guys. The football database, I need to give you more shout-outs because you've been so wonderful for history. It was just that one game. 1990 playoffs contested in 91. Washington beat Philadelphia 20-6. Mark Rypien versus Randall Cunningham. Two very familiar names, especially Randall Cunningham. Played with the Vikings and all that. But, that 98 season, yeah. When it was like a miracle comeback type of thing. But Cunningham was a superstar with Philadelphia, especially back in like 90, like 87, 88, 89, 90. He was a great player. Great player. And then he just kind of, lost his magic. Stopped playing, got frustrated, and then all of a sudden the Vikings called him up to be a backup for Brad Johnson. It's like, okay, what the heck? Heck, I can even punt a little bit too if you need me as a backup punter. Because he'd punted once or twice. It was out of frustration, but it was a really good punt. He was like really mad, It was like, it was a 4th and long, and then, I don't know, everybody's just kind of, nobody's open, and he was pissed off, and he just punted the thing to the moon, basically. It was a great punt. It was pretty funny. It's hilarious, so I often make a joke about that. So, at the end of the day, I do believe the Washington Commanders go 2-0. Washington Commanders / Redskins go 2-0 versus the Eagles in the playoffs. I think Washington's a better team. There was a good matchup even this season. Yeah, I mean, there was a back and forth. Philadelphia won the earlier game. I thought they played each other earlier than this. Okay, yeah, it was that late one. So November 14th, the Eagles, a pretty close game, 26-18 over the Commanders. Not bad at all. And then December 22nd, this year, of course, Washington, 36-33, where clearly Washington was like, yeah, we are a playoff team. We didn't have a little cute lucky start, and we're gonna fade away and disappear. No, we're not. We're gonna be a threat. And boy, oh boy, what a threat they've been. They knocked out arguably the favorites to win the whole thing this year. Then again, they probably couldn't be because Kansas City's what they are, and all the injuries on defense that Washington exploited in such a big way. I mean, do you realize Detroit had a 15-2 season and didn't win one playoff game this year? You know how bad that looks? Oh, God, that's got to suck. I'm not trying to be a jerk either. It took them from 91, that's like Washington as well, who, they finally won a playoff game for the first time since, Well, I know they beat the frickin' Vikings in '92, so that was already after the '92 or the '91 playoff run by the Detroit Lions. Before losing to Washington back then. Yeah, see how it all gets tied back together again? And how the last win Washington ever had in the postseason, I believe, was in the mid-'90s. Over the, it was like 30 some years, right? Or it was like 30 years. They beat the Bucks that year too in the playoffs. They beat the Bucks. Mediocre Bucks team. So it's kind of funny at the end of the day. So I think the stars aligned for Washington to go to the Super Bowl. And I think a Washington and Buffalo Super Bowl would be the coolest thing ever. But it would be a fairly rich franchise with 3 Super Bowls going back into the 30s. I started playing, their history begins back in 1932. And a Buffalo team that's been around a long time as well, but has no championships, at least not in the Super Bowl era. And of course, they had a great running back in the 70s. Unfortunately, God rest his soul. After his football career got a little murky. We'll just leave it at that. If you're ever interested in how I feel about all of that OJ case, I did a pretty extensive research-driven episode about it on Freedom of Thought. If you're ever curious, OJ case, what really happened? It was in April of 24. Look it up. I do not. Spoiler alert. Should I? No. Just look it up. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting twist on the OJ case. If you're ever interested, check it out. OJ case. So don't worry, it's not a political episode. Some of them get political, but that one is not. Okay, so if you're interested in my thoughts on that. Otherwise, I do believe the Washington Commanders get the job done. I think they beat the Eagles. The Eagles didn't impress me that much today. They hung onto the ball, and God bless them. Washington also hung onto the ball, and Detroit did not. That's a theme. I can imagine Philadelphia making some mistakes next week. I can imagine Hurts fumbling and maybe throwing an INT. The biggest threat in the game by far is Saquon Barkley. By far, on the Eagles side, and the biggest threat by far on Washington side is Jayden Daniels. There's just no doubt. I mean, it's two stars, huge stars. In the past, you'd have thought it was Jalen Hurts, but then Barkley arrived there, and there's a big reason why they're in the conference final now because of Barkley. Barkley just might be out there in the Super Bowl against Buffalo or the Chiefs. But we'll see. I kind of think it's going to be Jayden Daniels, though, in the Super Bowl as a rookie. It's going to be one of the great stories of all time if he gets there, and an even bigger story if he wins it. I think there's a real chance that this Washington team wins it all. I think there is a real chance. I do. But Washington wins the football game. You can tell I got a real good vibe with this Washington Commanders club. Just love McLaurin. He's a wonderful receiver. Robinson, when healthy, is a really nice running back. They protect their quarterback. They play good, strong defense, and they're clutch. It's impressive when they're well coached. Washington wins 35 to 27. 35-27. Washington goes to the Super Bowl for the first time since they came to the Metrodome at Super Bowl 26. Washington goes to the Super Bowl against the Buffalo Bills. Washington and Buffalo, Super Bowl. So let's get to fan interaction now. Let's just do a one shot. I think I made enough of a mess here, coughing all over the place. Thank God the coughing has stopped. Right when I said it, I started thinking about it again. At Purple Mafia Show, I want to thank Tanae out of New Zealand. Who's this next one? Vince Germano out of Australia. And Pete LaFlamme. Cool. Thank you very much, Pete. Pete LaFlamme, I think he's from Minnesota. I keep forgetting. Pete Vikes 22. Did it say Burnsville? Can't tell. Nope, he's from Maine. Okay, cool. Maine. I like that. So Maine. Pete from Maine. All retweeted the most recent episode talking about the decision is clear after 2 no-shows. So yes. Again, my decision is J.J. McCarthy. Yes, very much so. Where are we going? Okay, Dave Hickey says, love to see it. More of the same. Let's see. Okay, this is, I was saying Jerry Jones is a clown. The Cowboys fans need to stop going to games until that jackass sells the team. He has done so much long-term damage to that franchise. It's not even funny, and it's his own team. Dave Hickey out of Iowa responds with love to see it. More of the same. Trade Dak. Oh, I wish they could, but $60 million a year, that'll be hard. Trade Dak, hire Dion, and trade up to pick up his kid in the draft. Turn into big dumpster fire. And yes, that does sound like what the Cowboys would do. It does. It does sound like something they would do if they hired Deion Sanders. What a clown show. I don't know. Like, I think Deion he's good at what he does, but he's a shelf life guy. He just is. I mean, you notice how after his run with the Atlanta Falcons, he kept changing. He was like all over the place for a while there because he's nuts. I don't know. Next, Mad Martin. I believe it's going to be a Mad Martin, lightning round, which is great. Mad Martin out of Northern Scotland says, what was I saying? Yep, this is when I was saying, okay, this is the Cowboys again, that Jerry Jones is a clown. Mad Martin says they deserve all the pain they get, and long may it continue. And he was laughing. Yep, I agree. Yep, here's a really nice tweet here. And again, I apologize to Dave Martin for not responding more in kind, because this was awesome but you probably figured, this would get on the show, and that's kind of the idea. And thank you, Dave Martin, Mad Martin, for getting this on here. It's wonderful content. Here's one to discuss. Update here. NFC title game appearances since the Cowboys last made it. 8 times. The 49ers, the Eagles, and the Packers. 8 times. You know what's sad about that stat? They've won 0. The 49ers have won 0 Super Bowls since then. That kind of sucks. Packers have won 2. They've been to several NFC. Yeah, they've won 2 Super Bowls, so that means they've lost either. Yeah, they lost 1 Super Bowl because they went in '97 and lost. But then other than that, they kept losing NFC title games to Seattle and the mostly Seattle and the 49ers. Pretty much, that's pretty much who it was, right? Seattle and the 49ers. And the Packers. Eagles have been to tons and tons and tons of NFC title games. 8. They've won 1 Super Bowl, and they've been to 3. Yeah, because they lost to the Patriots. They beat the Patriots. And then they lost to the Chiefs. The Eagles, that is. Falcons, 4. So this is the 4 list. 4 conference title appearances. Again, the Cowboys haven't been back since '95. Haven't been back once. 4 times. The Falcons, the Panthers, the Rams, and the Vikings. The Vikings have been to 4 conference finals. Yeah. Yep. 98, 2000, 2009, and 2017. Yep. And we lost them all. Of course, the Rams have been to 2 Super Bowls. Yep. So they've lost a couple of conference finals, and they've won. Oh no, excuse me. I think they won all of them. It seems like it, didn't they? Yeah, the Rams have won all their conference final games, but they lost 2 Super Bowls and won 2 Super Bowls, because that was St. Louis also. Yep, my bad, sorry. Yeah, the 99 Rams won it all. 2000 Rams went to the Super Bowl but lost to the Patriots. The 2018 Rams went to the Super Bowl and lost. 22 Rams went to the Super Bowl and won. Vikings just flat out lost them all. Panthers have gone to 1 Super Bowl and lost. Otherwise, they've lost in the conference finals. Yep. Buccaneers have been there 3 times. Yes, I'm such a nerd how I kind of add to it like that. I'm sorry if that's annoying, man. Buccaneers, yep. Buccaneers have been there 3 times. The Giants 3 times. The Saints 3 times. And the Sea Chickens, yep. The Bears have been there twice, along with the Cardinals. Wow. Cardinals twice. Oh, yeah, that's right. The Cardinals got killed by the Panthers in the, that was one of the Panthers, 4 appearances, and they went to the Super Bowl to lose to the, what are they called? Broncos. And then the Commanders finally got there, and the Lions finally got there. back in the day. The Lions got there for the first time since '91, and the last time the Commanders were there was also '91, and they finally got there this year. But they also have 3 Super Bowls on their, on their, in their history. And then Mad Martin finishes with Jerry has done a remarkable job. I hope my adding that information wasn't annoying. I apologize. Dave Martin continues. Next one. Just proves if you can pick the right quarterback in the draft and have a pretty good roster around them, you can go a long way. I was saying Philadelphia will host Washington in the NFC title. Yep, this should be interesting. Yeah. Yep. I mean, Washington, what an amazing difference. Like, think about what they were just a year ago. Like, I remember they were kind of competitive 2 years ago, it was, but they had, like, Tyler Thigpen as quarterback or something, right? Or, is that who it was? They're just kind of hanging around. Just kind of floating there, kind of when they were in the Washington. It was whenever they were still the Washington football team. I think they were, like, decent for, like, a year. I think they're just the football team for like 2 years or something before they became the Commanders. And then now, look at them. Oof, they might win it all. Next, Matt Martin says, I feel fixed about the Bills. I'd like to get there first, but if they win it all, great. But I can see them having another heartbreaking loss in Kansas City. Matt Martin again says, if it's the Eagles and the Chiefs in the big game, how do you feel? There is no way I could root for an Eagle victory. They have a truly rancid fan base. I mean, I'm on the Chiefs. Or excuse me, I'm on the Chiefs. Hell no, I'm not. I'm on the Eagles. Yep. No, I'm on the Eagles. I developed a soft spot for them because of how much I despise the Chiefs. But soft spot only the team, not the fans. Definitely not the fans. I don't like the fans. Of course not. But just the team itself. Like, it's, like Hurts, Barkley, guys like that. I think their coach gets treated like crap by people all the time, too. He might not be the coolest guy in the world, but come on. I think guys are too hard on their coach. Was it Soriani or whatever of the Eagles? But yes, Man Martin saying, let's hope for a Bills-Commanders Super Bowl. Yes, I agree, because I don't think the Eagles would beat the Chiefs. They don't look that dangerous. I'd be bleeping rooting for them like you wouldn't believe. And if Barkley goes out there and has like an amazing game of his life, maybe they will beat them. But, I kind of just want Buffalo to take care of Kansas City and then see if Washington's magic continues against the Buffalo Bills. I think that'd be great. So let's see what happens. I'm with you 1,000,000%, hoping for a Bills and Commanders Super Bowl. Great way to wrap this up, Matt Martin. Thank you so much. That is perfect. Absolutely perfect. So apologize for my voice. Sorry if it was obnoxious. I was kind of holding off coughs and editing out coughs along the way with this one. You probably still hear me, struggling a bit as well, where you can hear I'm like leading into a cough. So on some of these sound bites. So my apologies for for if the quality was a little funky because of that. But you definitely got my passion today. You didn't get gypped with passion. Just maybe the sound of my voice is not the best. But Matt Martin, you get a platinum-laced gold star. Like, that was awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for contributing to the show. I appreciate it. And Dave Hickey as well. Obviously a gold-plated silver star for you. That was awesome. Hoping all of you are still listening and enjoying this the postseason. Understand if you're frustrated with Vikings not being there. I am too. But keep your hopes up. J.J. McCarthy, that's my positive vibe. My positive spin on the Vikings, J.J. McCarthy. And again, in continuing improvement with the salary cap and not, screwing around to the salary cap by signing Darnold long term. So that's my approach, guys and gals and guys. With that said, have yourself a wonderful week, and we'll be back next week to talk about these games and preview the Super Bowl.